Well, what happens to racehorses when they're retired, when they're no longer able to race, is a huge concern. And there's a lot of sort of anxiety amongst the public as to what happens to them. Well, nobody knows more about it than Emma Balding here, who's the trustee of the racehorse. What is it, Emma?
Retraining
of racehorses. Emma, it is people really worry. What happens to the old warriors? Is there a sort of a thing that they have sort of got rid of, or what can we do?
Well, retraining of racehorses is very proactive in trying to create different disciplines for the horses to be retrained to go into. Of course, it does involve sound horses, but it does take care of the vast majority who do retire all in one piece. And you're not always talking about the good horses. There are many horses that actually aren't very competitive, like there are human beings. And they take a shine to showing or dressage or eventing or a mass of different disciplines with polo, and they're very biddable. They have great minds, they're very easily redirected into doing something else.
The people would say the owners themselves, that they've benefited from them, whether the horses are very good or won a lot or not. So isn't it their responsibility to look after the retired racers?
It is, but racing is an industry where you're constantly trying to generate new interest, new horses, and when any of us, be it with our hobby horses, when they can't do the disciplines we need them to do any longer, you find something else for them to do. A thoroughbred isn't always happy retired. A human being, dare I say it, is not always happy retired.
How, you're obviously horses all your life. How do you know? How does a horse tell you that it's sort of it's cheesed off? It's lost the will to really go on.
They probably dump you.
No, I see. Yes, yeah.
They do. They lose their mojo. They just aren't as interested in going on doing the things that you want them to do. There is the old saying that livestock is always involves dead stock, and that horse people, stock people, totally understand that mantra, and you do not have a 30-year-old horse out in the field being miserable.
And we're here at Greatwood at Newbury for Greatwood Day, looking after retired racehorses and disabled kids get on and all that sort of thing. What can the public do? People watching this, and they say, as I always say this, if racing doesn't look after the old warriors, no one else will. Lots of worthy charities about the cancer and all that kind of thing, absolutely right. But racehorses are our special sort of enjoyment we get for them, and we've got responsibility. What can the public do?
The public can contribute to the wonderful work Greatwood's doing, can contribute to the wonderful work many broad-based people are doing, and just make sure, particularly owners, that if the horses reach the end of the road, that they do the right thing by it, as you do with any animal you've ever owned.
How much responsibility is it, because you're trainers obviously, is it up on the trainers that when they leave the stables they're going to go to a decent home? How much burden is it on them?
Trainers often have the contacts, but you do have to remember that they don't own most of the horses. Occasionally they're given the horses, but they do not own them. They don't have the jurisdiction over them. Sometimes the owners will listen to what their ideas are, and sometimes they won't. But I think on the whole, in this country, people are very responsible. They really are, and we do not have the horses having been medicated in the way that in other countries they may have been. So invariably we end up with a horse that you can actually have a further career with.
Emma Balding, thank you very much. Retraining of racehorses is a thing that affects all of us, whether we've ever had a bet, whether we've ever ridden. We've all got a responsibility for these fantastic animals.